Hey, we back again with track two. How to account for the learning loss due to COVID-19. How do we account for it? This is your boy, Dr. Christopher J. Childs. I'm back again. I appreciate every single one of you tuning in. As always, a quick disclaimer. My statements and my opinions are my own. All right, lawyers, y'all cool with that one? Y'all like that? That was good? Okay. Let's see why. Let's see why on the mixtape series. Our goal for this session, we want to learn how to account for learning loss due to COVID-19. This is the big topic. You know, Chris, there's learning loss. We got to get ready for these interventions. All of these things are happening, yada, 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 yada. You know, all these articles keep coming out. The learning loss is going to be so astronomical. We have to reopen the schools. All of these assumptions are being made. You're like, Chris, what do you mean assumptions? Point me to the data that we know for a fact in fall 2020 that there's summer learning loss or there's COVID learning loss. Point me to the data. There is none. I get, you know, in the past, Chris, we've had this summer learning loss and all of this data in the past, it happens. We're making all of these assumptions with no data. And then we're making the false assumption that kids did not get high quality experiences over the time they were at home and out of school. So we're going to make an assumption that majority of students had bad experiences at home. So now we're making an assumption that most of our kids don't have good home environments. I'm just saying, I know everybody, well, Chris, you don't know our kids. And again, we cannot falsely keep making these assumptions about our parents and about our students' home environments. Are there some traumatic home environments? Yes. I'm not going to say they aren't, but there are some amazing home environments that we're not accounting for. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to toot my own horn. I'm going to pat myself on the back. My kids got an amazing home learning experience. I'm just saying. A lot of the kids around me got some great home experiences. I know Facebook and different things are going to make you think, oh no, it wasn't that. It was some great experiences. That's why I'm going to implore to each and every one of you, as we get ready for back to school fall 2020, have an asset-based mindset. Question. Do you even believe in the brilliance of all of your students? All of your students, and especially those black students. Yes, I put the operative word black in there, and I'm going to say brown. Why do I say those two? Because when we look at the data and we look at subgroups, which two are continuing on the end of the spectrum? And here's the thing. Well, Chris, you know, historically we've had these achievement gaps. I think it's a bunch of, I'm going to say malarkey. That's a good word. I haven't used malarkey in a while. Why? Because our students do very well in playing video games. Think about Fortnite. Think about the games they play just in school nowadays. They do very well figuring out technology. But you're telling me for some reason they struggle in core instruction? Think about it. We have to have an asset-based approach to our students, and we need to start using this time in fall 2020 and beyond to rethink what does it mean to educate our students. The problem is we've been so focused on making students assimilate and fit into these boxes, we have not thought to look into the students, unlock their brilliance, and truly differentiate, not based upon their academic, where they are on the academic spectrum, but to differentiate based upon what experiences do they bring into the classroom, their backgrounds, what do they like, what do they dislike. To me, that's differentiation. Not, Chris, I have my low group, I have my high group. No. Rethink, what are we doing with our students? Another big piece in the spring, we all have we do have data. A lot of kids checked out doing virtual. When I say checked out, they didn't log in, they didn't want to do the work. Because as Chris Emden stated, he caught a lot of heat for this. But something to think about. A lot of us initially, and again, I'll agree, you know, Chris, it was new. I agree. We took some bad in-house brick and mortar practices and pushed them online. Let's be honest with ourselves. I get we were rushed, but we did that. And what happened? A lot of kids like, I'm checking out, just like I check out in school, because we're not making it relevant to the students. We were so focused on, I got to get through all these pages. I got to get all this stuff done. We weren't even thinking, what is the standard? how do I bring in cultural relevance? Yes, I'm talking about culturally relevant pedagogy in this video. Why? Because that's one of the keys that we have been missing year after year, trying to get students to learn it a certain way or how we learned it, as opposed to considering what is the brilliance that our students bring into the classroom? How do we build upon it? We have to rethink this fall going back to school. One of the strategies I'm going to give you all, when designing lessons, think first, how can I deliver this at a high quality in a virtual environment? And I have some example videos coming up for that. Then, how do I take that virtual lesson and put it brick and mortar? Make sense? That's a different shift. Usually we think, how's this going to look in the classroom, then translate to virtual. No, start off in that virtual piece, then translate it to the classroom. Because if it works in that virtual piece, it's going to work in the classroom. We got to rethink. Rethink what are we doing when it comes to teaching in the fall. Less about the learning loss, more looking at an asset-based approach. Here are 4 practical tips as we get ready for back to school. Tip 1, you need to pre-test your students. I know my colleagues and thought leaders out there, no, we shouldn't be abolish testing. I didn't say do a high-stakes standardized test. I just said we need to do some type of pre-test to determine, at standards align, we need to determine what is our baseline of our students coming in. We need to do a mid-year test and an end-of-year test. And again, this is different from high-stakes testing, but we still want to see how our students are growing and progressing. And in a later video, you're going to hear me talk about mastery learning. But if we don't know a baseline, we don't even know like where our students are coming in. We do know where to start. In the prior video, where do you start? Grade level content. But we need to know what do they come in with, and that's going to help us create better lessons. So you do need to pre-test your students. Practical tip number 2, grade level material intertwined with interventions. What do I mean? Day 1, you do need to do grade level material, but you're going to intertwine interventions. That way, if a student comes to you with a couple gaps, they're still getting the appropriate grade level material, but you're intervening as you go along the way. In another video, I'll talk about what do the days of the week look like. That way you can be strategic in how you make these decisions. And we're not intervening students to death with a bunch of drill and kill. Why? Oh my gosh, this is the perfect time for a quote. Check out this quote from the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics. Interventions must focus on content that is connected with and promotes the grade level curriculum through problem solving and reasoning, and not to be a review of low-level basic facts or procedural skills. I'm dropping the mic, man. I need to bring a mic next time and drop. Rethink your interventions. Rethink who is in the interventions. Rethink why year after year it's the same students in their interventions. Are your interventions really working? Hey, crickets. All right, let me get back to it. Bring the energy level back up. Practical tip number 3. Eliminate all forms of ability grouping. That's your tracking. You know, the smart class, I got my middle class, I got my low class. Again, you all don't say it publicly, but behind the scenes, you know, you look at the data and you create these, or, you know, we have these fake small groups. Why I call them fake? Because you allegedly move these students around, you know, Chris, they can rotate groups, but students never graduate from the low level group to the high level group. Say it again. Students never graduate from that low level group in small group instruction to the high level group. They don't. They typically don't. You need to eliminate all forms of ability grouping. NCTM has a great book out called Catalyzing Change, Elementary, Middle, and High School. Everyone needs to read that before back to school. Tracking has detrimental effects. I mean, tracking is horrible. Tracking is horrible. And if you don't believe me, inbox me. I can give you some data, since everybody loves data, as it relates to back to school. Practical tip number 4, make your lessons culturally relevant. That's it. There's a great book out, Culturally Relevant Teaching and the Brain by Zaretta Hammond. That's another book you should read before back to school. Now, with that piece, some of you need to actually learn about your students. Just think, did I say that out loud? Yeah, I said it out loud. Some of you do need to learn about your students. Not stereotypically, but actually learn about them. Your homework. You need to review the rigor of the tasks assigned to students who typically perform at the lower end of the spectrum, of the academic achievement spectrum. What do I mean? Think about the students who are continually at the lower levels of the achievement spectrum. What task are you assigning them? It's time for us to have an authentic discussion about that. When I go into classrooms, especially if it's students with disabilities or you have students who may not be proficient in mathematics, it's drill and kill. But what's unique about those same students, when I put them in front of let's say an iPad, they figure it out immediately without even any direction. Those same students, I put them in front of a video game system, they figure it out. Those same students, I take them outside for recess, they figure it out. They can figure out rich, rigorous tasks, but do you provide them the opportunity? You may have to read the task to them. They may have to act it out, but stop just saying, I'm going to give them these low-level tasks. Do you believe in the brilliance of your students, all your students? It's a yes or no question. Question of the day. This is a controversial question. And again, feel free to inbox me. Feel free to contact me on social media. But here's my question of the day. Does ability grouping really work? Before you answer that question and inbox me, I want evidence at scale. Don't tell me about that one time in 1989 where it worked. No. At scale, does ability grouping work? The crickets. This has been your boy, Dr. Christopher J. Childs, with track number 2, how to account for learning loss due to COVID-19. Track went a little bit long. I got to get these tracks like succinct to the point. Like, you know, like when you're doing a mixtape, you got to get in, you got to get out. You got to give the people just enough before the album drops. I'm not dropping the album though. I'm not dropping the album. Just these mixtapes. Just mixtapes. All right, I'm out. I got to go.